we have managed to find some big cats that are having a little meal, and we said at the start of the show that it was definitely hunting weather and that something somewhere would have been fed upon. So it is the Nkuhuma Pride by the looks of things. It's difficult to see because they're all kind of stretched out. The rest of them all on my left hand side, out of view at the moment. We'll have to try and kind of reposition ourselves and check and try and get everything sorted, but it looks like the Nkuhuma Pride. But this funny thing is where they are. They are completely out of their territory. They're not in anywhere where I would have expected them. We are in southern Chitwa right now, and so this is a first for me to ever hear of the Nkuhuma Pride coming this far south. I've never heard of them moving in this direction, so interesting that they just seem to be going all over the place at the moment. They've been all the way down towards Londolozi, they've been into Singita, or Ottawa should I say, and now they're down all the way near Chitwa. It's completely random that they are in these kind of areas, so super weird. And it's the tracks that we were looking at. It was the lioness that went to go fetch her cubs. She's not here yet with the little cubs. She's on her way though, so she's not far from where we are now and slowly moving towards this area. So if we're just patient, she should arrive with the little cubs just now, hopefully, and they'll join the carcass in the feast and the festivities. Now it looks like a big kudu that they've managed to bring down. So, Francis from Israel, you're super excited that we've found the Nkuhumas. Well, we'll just have to see. Like I said, I think it's the Nkuhuma Pride. Just judging by the number of lions that are here, it looks like the Nkuhuma Pride. Of course, it could also be the Torchwood Pride, and I'm just going on the fact that there's a lioness gone to go fetch cubs. It seems like it must be them. Once we reposition and kind of move ourselves around, we might be able to see if it is the Nkuhumas or not, and we'll just double check and make 100% sure. But it looks like them. It looks like all mostly sub-adults and adult lionesses, and there's certainly a number of them here, so I don't think it's the Styx Pride, that's for sure. There's far too many adults that I can see already, and we know the Styx don't have sub-adults of this size. These sub-adults are already quite big, and you can see the size of the bellies. They're very full animals and rather large at the moment. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try and reposition ourselves. As much as it's nice to see them feeding on the kill, I'm going to just go to where the rest of the pride is, because I'm making VM doing a lot of work that's quite difficult in the way that he is parked at the moment. So what I'm going to try and do is just get into a better position for the rest of them, and hopefully we'll be able to see the rest much better than what we can see right now. So this is where this rain cover, as much as it's nice to protect the equipment, becomes a little harder to work with. So the rest of them are just in on this side of the road, and we'll just try and get in here and try and figure out a way to be able to film them. Yes, it's definitely the Nkuhuma Pride, because there's the lioness with her nice big injury that she's got. So it seems to be healing though. That's quite good news. It's much smaller by the looks of things than the last time I saw it. But I'm just going to try and reposition myself there. And then you can see kind of carpet of lions with big bellies. Now, you're wondering if this is the pride with the injured lioness. Yes, there she is over there. But you can see, I mean, it is open still, and it is kind of nasty and still an open wound, but it's definitely smaller than the last time I saw it, and you can see there's a lot of granulation that's taking place on that wound itself, and so that will close up eventually. It's clean, that tissue is nice and pink and healthy, and so she's going to always have a really nasty scar there and a big black patch and probably no fur, but that will close up and she will look a lot better, and she's already looking better, and she's not in any way skinny or anything like that. I mean, they've fed really well. The Nkuhuma Pride seems to be on an absolute roll at the moment. They've had a number of giraffe. They've now got this big kudu, and look at the size of those tummies. Those tummies are monstrously big. So they've had a good time of things lately, and have certainly done a good job of getting food for these sub-adults that are growing by the day. The more I haven't seen them in so long, so to see them like this, they're looking much bigger than what they were a few months ago when I last saw them. I actually can't even remember the last time I saw all of them together. It seems like an age ago, maybe 2 months, maybe somewhere around there, since I last saw this pride, and so they're looking wonderful. Everybody seems to be in fairly good condition. There's no other signs of injuries that I can see anywhere else. Everyone looks big and healthy and full, and so their tour of the western sector of the northern Sabi Sands has been fairly successful by the looks of things for the Nkuhuma Pride. Becca, you're asking at what age do lion cubs start eating meat? At about 3 months old, so which is about right for these cubs that this female is starting to bring to the pride. So hopefully she'll be here just now. She's not here yet, and she's got her little ones with her, and they are bounding along, coming in this direction. So they should be about that age now. If I think back to when we first heard about them and first found their den site, it's about that sort of time frame. They would be about 3 months old, and so they're going to start getting their first tastes of meat. I believe they have been seen at some carcasses already, so this is not the first time they're coming to meat. But what has amazed me about this young Nkuhuma female and the way that she's kind of raising these cubs is that those poor cubs have been dragged around all over the place. In their short little life, they've already been through from Arethusa to Djuma, from Djuma into Buffelshoek, from Buffelshoek into the Manyeleti, back into Simbambili to Elephant Plains to Londolozi into Elephant Plains again, and Elephant Plains into Singita back into Simbambili, and now they're all the way down on Chitwa. So she's made them really walk and tour the northern sands and have a lot of work to do, and so she's had a tough time of it. It can't have been easy to being able to kind of move them around, and it's probably because this pride has been moving so much. And there it looks like the young male. You can actually see he's starting to get a bit of a mane developing. Look, he's puffing out quite a bit, isn't he? Also, his head is starting to look quite bulky. I think it's him. It looks like him, certainly. It looks like he's a much thicker, wider set individual than some of the other sub-adults. So I think that's the young male over there. We know there's one young male out of the 6 sub-adults. The other 5 are all females. And then if you hopefully in this new little set, I believe there's only 2 left of the 3, unfortunately, so I think there's only 2 little cubs left, but I have no idea if they're males or females. Now, I wonder what's going on, because everybody's just popped their heads up, but look at that hip now of the female. You can see she's healing much better. Look, there we go, that's much better. Now, Sky, you're saying with the Nkuhumas moving around so much, how do they not affect other pride territories or bump into them or have any sort of competition with them? Well, the simple reason is, Sky, is that where they've been walking, there's no other prides. They has been abandoned effectively by a number of the prides that we used to see in those areas. So remember that the Mangan pride was at one point very active around Simbambili and Elephant Plains. They then moved further west with the Majingalan coalition, because the Majingalan males were the males that produced their cubs, and as the Majingalans pushed west, so that Mangan pride went down that way. The Mangan breakaways have settled into Londolozi as well as the Salalas, and last year we used to see a lot of the Salala pride, but that Salala pride has also moved south into Londolozi, so it's left this massive void where these lions can move around without any problems whatsoever. And then on this side is the sticks, and the sticks, we're right in sticks territory now. We most definitely are where the sticks should be, and this is a surprise for them to be here, and I would imagine the sticks would not take too kindly to this pride being here. The problem is that the sticks is a much... Indeed they have. We don't have view of them yet. I can just see the female coming in now with them, and hopefully they are going to come onto the road at some point, and we'll be able to see the little ones. There they come. Look at how cute they are. Hello, little ones. Oh, you gotta say hello to the little... Oh, they're so cute. But yes, there's only 2 of them left, unfortunately, but it's so sweet, and you see them, and I love how playful they are. Look, mom is taking them to meat, and got to come and see what meat is and come and check it out. And this will, even though they've probably fed on meat before, it's still a newish thing, and so mama has to guide them to it and make 100% sure they know what's going on. But how cool is that? Aren't they the sweetest little things? Look how hungry they are. They're diving into that meat as quick as they can and feeding and trying to get as much food in and try and kind of get it all down. You'd think that they've never eaten before, even though they're so fluffy and full of food already. Look at the size of their tummies. It's not like they're starving, but you would swear they are, the way that they're going at that carcass, which is super cool. You can see mom is already fed, though. She had a really good meal before she went and fetched them. It's amazing how far she has walked this morning already. She was seen very early this morning, I believe, around Gowrie Main Triple M. Now, if you work out where that is from where we are now, it is very far away, and I don't even know if that's where she sort of got them, or if she already started started walking with these little ones a while ago, but she's definitely walked a very long distance, and that meant that these little ones must be quite hungry and quite tired by now because they've had to go a long way in this horribly cold weather, and so I'm sure they want to fill themselves up and make sure they get lots of food. But how cool is that? It was perfect just to see the little ones go. And so they're going to feed, and they're going to try and get as much food into those little bellies as possible. And what I'm hoping is Mom is going to lie on the road with the sub-adults, and then once these little ones are done, then they might be able to come and sit on the road and suckle. Nancy, you say thanks, Mom. This day is awesome. I'm sure they are saying thanks, Mom. Little fresh kudu must be quite pleasant. I would imagine that it's a nice meal on a cold day like this when it's been freezing, just to kind of get everything nice and warm again. And they'll obviously be trying to kind of get as much nutrients as possible just to kind of keep those bodies in good condition and try and keep the amount of food or amount of heat up as little ones. I'm sure they're going to have a good cuddle with Mom though at some point today. Becca, funny enough, no, it's quite interesting how tolerant the adults are over these tiny little cubs. They very seldom are in any way aggressive, and really are quite nice to the cubs when they're still tiny like this. When they get a little bit older, then yes, the females can be quite aggressive. But there is a sub-adult that's coming in now. Now, sub-adults is a different story. As an older sibling, you have the right to bully your younger siblings, and they might get a little bit bullied on this carcass. The nice thing is that it is quite a big carcass, and it's quite spread out, and that means that they're going to be able to kind of find a place to feed, and everyone's going to be all right and kind of have their own little space. Also, the thing is with cubs is that they don't take up much room at the carcass itself. They only take up a little bit. Oh, there goes little cub is going to go onto the road. Hello, little one. Look how cute that is. Wait for me, Mom. That's awesome. I like that. They are the sweetest little things when they're this small. There's nothing like little lion cubs. And obviously that one has decided I would rather have a situation where I suckle from Mom and get some milk rather than going all the way and getting some cold meat and away from Mom. At least with Mom there's a bit of a body heat that develops while they're suckling as well. Although that little one is still in there. It's on top of the carcass now and is having an absolute thorough feed. Look at that little backside. It is tiny, tiny, tiny in comparison to the sub-adults. It just gives you an idea of how big those size of the sub-adults. It's amazing that the little ones are as small as they are. If you think that that one on the right was that size just over a year ago, is pretty insane. Now, Megan, all the way from Louisiana, you say this is just so stinking cute. They are very cute. They are incredibly cute little animals, and especially little cubs, lion cubs. I don't know what it is about them. They are the sweetest things. They got these tiny little faces, and they kind of bounce around all over the show and flop around and fall over things, and they really are the sweetest thing. And then when they interact with the pride, it's always wonderful to watch because you see them kind of getting to play a little bit with their sub-adults, and there's a bit of swatting that goes on and a bit of growling and carrying on, and their talking is the best part. I love the way that little ones squeak and make a lot of noise. It's super cute. And I was watching a sighting that Brent had the other day where he's that Black Rock Pride, which is just phenomenal. That pride has just got so many little ones these days, and they were all over the place playing with sausage fruit and trees, and it's just the cutest thing when you get a lot of little cubs together. And so hopefully these little ones will survive and grow up, and then we'll have a situation in sometime soon where we get a number of females all having cubs again, and we'll have a similar situation to that Black Rock Pride. It's going to be interesting to see what the Nkuhumas do, is whether or not they stay together or if there's going to be a split. At the end of the day, well, here comes the little ones again, being chased by the sub-adults. So you can see lots of games that take place. Come on, you're coming here. And the older siblings do this a lot. It's just part and parcel of being a youngster. You unfortunately have to deal with the older ones and have to get played around with and tackled, and it all toughens them up for later in life. It can be sometimes a problem in that the older siblings can sometimes be a little too rough with the young ones, and it has been reported that there have been cases where little ones have been killed. But these little ones have been with this pride a few times now. It's not the first time that we're seeing these Nkuhumas with the rest of this pride, and well, the little cubs with the rest of the pride. They have been introduced before, and so if they have been introduced before and have spent a lot of time with these sub-adults, then everything is okay. They won't end up hurting them. They know to be quite gentle, and you'll find if mom is happy with the little ones playing around with them, then it's all okay. And it generally is quite gentle. It's just a few little trip-ups here and a little bite here and there, but nothing too major. But they're looking healthy, aren't they? They're looking fat and full and as though they've really had a good time. Becca, mom's milk is probably more nutritious than this meat. It'll have a lot more fat in it, that's for sure, and so that will help with keeping their body fat levels up and keeping them especially warm in cold times like this. But meat is also good. At the end of the day, they need meat and they need that protein, and mom's milk is always reliant, and the nutrient level is reliant on what she's feeding on. So if she's not feeding well, then the milk is probably not going to be too good. But when she's feeding well, her milk and her nutrients is better for these little cubs, and they will end up with a situation where they can, get a lot more nutrients out of the milk. But I suppose meat tastes nice, and they want to eat meat, and so it's instinct to go there and feed off that. And also mom's going to slowly but surely wean them off and make sure that they actually are no longer on the milk, but rather on the food, which is still going to be a while. It'll probably be another 3-4 months until they're weaned completely. But I suppose meat is fairly tasty because they're absolutely going at it at this stage. So cute, though. Oopsie, careful, don't fall over. So a number of you are wondering if there's always only been 2 cubs or if there's been 3, and as I've suggested many times this morning, that there is only 2 now. There were 3, so unfortunately one has disappeared and one is no longer with us. It seems as though, from what I can gather, it disappeared around a massive dam on the southern side of Elephant Plains. It's called Big Dam, and Big Dam has a big crocodile in it, and I think one of them must have just drifted too close to the water and the crocodile must have got it. They said it was there in the afternoon, and the next morning there was only 2 after they had been at that dam and had spent the day at the dam drinking and messing around. And so I think one of them unfortunately drifted a little too close and got nabbed by a crocodile. It's not the first time I've heard of crocodiles going after little lion cubs. It happens regularly. I've seen it down on the Sabi River, a lioness carrying her cub across the river and a crocodile snatched her cub right out of her mouth. So it does happen, and it is a thing that does, is part and parcel of life, and it's why Kruger and a lot of the leopards taught their cubs to try and stay away from water. And even the Nkuhumas, you'll remember a sighting with Brent where the female kept grabbing the little one and moving it away from water, trying to teach it that water is not a safe thing and that they need to be careful, and there would have been a valuable lesson learned for the remaining 2. Unfortunately, it would have come at a price for the others. Or the other one, should I say. It's amazing actually just to watching them, though. They almost don't seem to know where they want to actually feed. They're kind of trying to just find anywhere where they can get their mouths in and get a little bit of food. And they're not like other, older lions that will know exactly what little bits they want and little cuts they want to try and find. It's a little different with these guys. They're kind of trying to work their way around. And you can see, look how strong that is already. I mean, that cub is lifting a leg that probably weighs as much as it, or if not more, and it was actually lifting it up and kind of rolling it. So even at this age, they already are getting very powerful. And that games that they've been playing with in these older siblings, those kind of things are all going to be helping them to strengthen up and end up getting a lot bigger and a lot healthier and stronger, and be able to then defend themselves come the time later in life. Paul, yes, if the sub-adults got too rough and one of the little cubs let out a squeal, you'll find mom will probably come in and chase them off and growl and hiss at the sub-adults. I don't think it'll ever try and attack them, but it will definitely stand between them and chase them off. And the sub-adults know if mom comes in here and mom starts growling and hissing, that it's time to back off quickly and get away from them. So she will, at some stages, if it gets too rough, intervene. But for the most part, it's important that these little ones bond with the sub-adults, that they spend time with them and learn a little bit more, about being sort of playing, and those playing games will help with hunting later, with developing strength, as I said, and just developing certain instincts on how to hunt and how to go after various food sources, as well as to defend themselves later in life. So it's important that they do play those games and that they play amongst each other. But obviously, if it gets a little out of hand, then mom will step in and just make sure that her little ones don't get too hurt. But how cute is that face? They are very sweet, these little ones. Certainly happy to have breakfast by the looks of things. Now, they don't have the dental structure just yet to really shear off big chunks of meat. You'll find they'll use their tongues a lot and lick a lot of this meat off, and then they'll also pull little bits with those little incisors and try and get chunks like that. At the end of the day, their nostrils are not really that well developed to be able to slice off big chunks just yet, but it'll get there eventually. Little one, have you had enough now, both of you? Is it time to rather go cuddle with mom? It's too cold by themselves, and kind of shoving each other around a little bit as well. It's super sweet. It's almost as if they don't know quite what they want to do, is where they want to eat, how much they want to eat, and whether or not they want to go back to mom. I think that one's decided, nope, I'm going to head back to where mom is, or play with a branch or something like that. Let's see if she goes, no, around to the sub-adults instead. You can just see the little one is kind of just behind between the two now, and has found a place to feed next to its older sibling. Super cute though. How cool is this? So special. I'm hoping that this Nkuhuma Pride does come back towards Djuma and spends a lot more time up that way, because it is the best thing when you've got little cubs in a pride. They are so entertaining, and even when the rest of the pride is sleeping, like what we've seen today, where everybody is kind of flat and quiet and not really doing very much, the little ones are busy constantly, and they'll be moving around or either trying to suckle or play, and they add a whole different dynamic to the pride, and it's really a wonderful thing to watch them growing up. And we were spoiled last year on Safari Live, where we got to follow the Nkuhuma Pride as much as we did for that period, and you know, it would be nice to have a similar kind of run with the Nkuhumas over the next little bit. Oh, a little swatting. Roshni asking if I can share a story or experience with guests and their reactions to lion cubs or any other special animal on drive. Well, Roshni, I can tell you that, I mean, it's obviously a lot of different experiences. There's been a lot of different guests in my time, and a lot of different people that I've taken on safari, and a lot of sightings that I've had. And I can tell you that cubs generally evoke a lot of emotion in people, and I've seen a number of different guests that are either speechless or will get into a situation where it's particularly a lot of ladies that have recently had children. They tend to be quite affected by seeing cubs, and you'll find that they end up in a situation where you often see people having tears of joy and just tears of kind of sheer sort of excitement of being able to see these tiny little ones in the wild. And a lot of people are speechless as well. So I mean, there's so many different sightings and so many kind of ways and reactions that people have. It's the best thing when you get people that have those kind of reactions, and you see the sheer enjoyment in their faces when they get to see something like this for the first time in their life. It is quite a special feeling. I have also had the complete opposite spectrum as well, where people are just completely disinterested in seeing things like this, and it just becomes kind of a list just to tick off. I mean, I've had a guy that once fell asleep in a sighting of leopard cubs that were the first time that he had even seen a leopard, let alone leopard cubs, and he ended up falling asleep in the sighting with the little leopard cubs suckling and playing, and it was just the most ridiculous sighting. The rest of the guests on the vehicle were going crazy and were literally shaking with excitement, and one fella just decided he wasn't really that interested. In fact, he wasn't really interested in anything that we showed him, and he was a bit of a handful. But it does happen. I mean, we get, on one side, you get these people that just absolutely love every single second of a sighting like this, and just want to stay and want more and want to come back and want to come every drive to little cubs and just watch them go about their business. And then you obviously, on the other side of things, get people that just sometimes don't really care too much for it, which is a shame. Right, well, talking about people being excited and people really enjoying the experience and enjoying watching animals, my friend Brent Leo Smith in the Masai Mara is probably the most excitable person I know about animals, and gets very passionate, and he's thoroughly enjoying his 2 spotted beautiful animals. Well, Taylor, I'm not sure. I think you hit the nail on the head with those. I think those are 5 of the most iconic sounds for sure that we hear out here in the bush. I obviously think that there's one thing we probably always forget is the sound of maybe cicadas. Cicadas are a sound that is synonymous with the summer in the bush. But in terms of all year round, I think those sounds that you mentioned are most definitely the ones that remind us the most of a safari and of being out here in Africa. I think those kind of are the 5 synonymous calls. Maybe I'm just trying to think what else there could be. There's pretty much just those, really, for me as well. I think those are the ones, like when you hear those, you know that you are in the wilds of Africa as soon as you hear them. So I think for me, those are probably them as well. There's none others that really kind of make a lot of noise. Now, the little cubs are still feeding, still messing around and playing around. They every now and then kind of come out and show themselves on the road and kind of have a little look around. And there's been a few calls and contact calls, maybe trying to hope that Mom will hear them. And there we go, trotting over to Mom. I think it's time for a bit of milk now and time for a bit of a cuddle to try and stay. Now, Taylor McCurdy apparently wants to add Brent Leo Smith to this big 5 sounds. Well, certainly big sounds, I would imagine. Brent Leo Smith and Taylor McCurdy, you're not very far, so we can add you 2 to make the Magnificent 7 sounds of the bush. That can be the 2, because the Magnificent 7 in terms of animals is if you add cheetah and wild dogs in there, then you'll get the Magnificent 7. So we can have the Magnificent 7 with Brent and Taylor as the 2 bigger sounds from the Safari Live crew. It would actually be interesting to know who has the highest decibels in terms of voices in the Safari Live crew. I would imagine Brent, and then I would think that maybe Taylor, followed by Scott. And so Taylor says Ali as well when it comes to decibels. Well, yes, Taylor and Ali together is a deafening experience, and one that I try and avoid as much as possible. No, I'm just joking. Those 2 always, when they're together, are always laughing and having a lot of fun, and it's good that they do, and it's always quite entertaining to be around the 2 of them, that's for sure. I also forgot Biceps Byron. He's definitely part of the louder part of the crew. Oh, look and listen to this one, talking about loud sounds. Hey, little one. Now, that's not very loud at all, but she was contact calling. Now, I can't tell if they're male or females yet. Proud Cat Mama, you say a pure cuteness overload. Well, exactly. It is just the cutest thing to see when little cubs are around and playing and calling and having a good time. It is just the most amazing thing, and it's sitting here in moments like this, it makes you just realize how fortunate we really are to be able to experience the things we do. Obviously, the little ones, I think, have gone for milk now. I think they've decided that it's time to have a little suckle from Mom. I don't think they want to try and feed off meat anymore. I think it's more time to have a little bit of a suckle, and I can hear them calling, so I might just try and go up just on top here just to see if we can get a better visual. Obviously, I'm a bit limited in the field of view, and why I've been parking here is because it's been easier for me to be able to kind of point in the right direction. But I'm going to try and just get Liam somehow into this, and so that he can see, because it's not easy for him with the kind of vehicle in the way it is. But here comes some of the sub-adults. There we go, and there is 1 or 2 cubs, I think, that are behind that. So I'm not quite sure how many are there. It looks like they both are being played with one of the sub-adults and having a little game. And there we go, being bitten on and pulled by the tail. And you can just hear little noises and bits of grass moving every now and then. It's actually quite difficult to see them behind all of this. Jason, yes, the cubs do have claws, very sharp little claws, actually. You would be surprised how sharp those claws can be at such a small age. And they've got sharp teeth too, to be honest. There's the little teeth are like needles, and so are their claws, and so they still have the weapons that they need. At the end of the day, little ones are being chased all over. Hold on, let me try and get this, because it's quite funny. One is being chased by another one and is kind of being moved. I'm just going to let these guys come through because they need to move out of the sighting. It's my old tracker, Derek. Hello, Derek. How's the mic? So that was probably one of the guys that I learned the most from, is Derek, who's sitting on the front of that car. He's an incredibly good tracker, really knows his stuff, and was somebody that taught me a lot. So nice to always bump into Derek and see him and say hello and just kind of have a bit of a catch up. I obviously didn't get to speak to him too much. Now, I don't want to move too much because I don't want to scare the little ones. They're probably still getting used to us off-roading, but yeah, you can see that they're just sitting, and there's a few little games, and it's amazing how they go straight to the sub-adults to play. They like to kind of move around with them and rub up on them and have games with them more than anything else. There we go, onto the back. Super cute little ones. He's not gone to mom at this stage. I think mom's lying somewhere close by. Maybe mom's decided you're not getting much. I think that's the case. Maybe mom's fatigued after running all over the place. But how cute is that? Jason, you're asking how long it will take for those little cubs to become the big fully grown adults. Well, if you see the ones that they're climbing on at the moment, those lines that those two cubs are on, or that line that those two cubs are on, is now about just over a year and a half old. So it shows you how quickly they grow to a bigger size. But to become like the lioness with the wound in front there, that's going to take them about 3 to 3.5 years to be fully grown. So that's generally about when they reach sort of adult size, if you want to call it that. That's when they become sexually mature as lions and have reached pretty much their full size. They might bulk out a little bit from there, and if they're males, they definitely will still continue to grow even up until about 7 years. But as little cubs where they can fend for themselves, they can hunt for themselves, they can kind of move around on their own and not have to be babysitted, well, that you'll find happens when they're about 3 to 3.5 years old. Then they are fully contributing members of the pride. There we go. I think the little ones have decided off to mom. I wonder if they've got favorite siblings. It would be really interesting to know if there is favorite siblings amongst them, and whether they go to certain, sub-adults and go and play with them more than others. It would be quite nice to kind of watch and check and see how that all works. I would imagine that there would be that situation. I'd imagine that certain sisters are far more obliging than some of the others. Now, unfortunately, there are a number of vehicles that want to come into the sighting, and we've been here for quite some time already, so I'm actually going to have to leave fairly shortly. There's a number of guys that have been waiting to get into the